I was so ready to be disappointed by this book. So close to saying that I didn't understand why so many of my fans wanted me to review this book, but then I got to a point in the story where I just had to say, okay, this is really cool. The premise and the universe this is set in has my full attention, and I didn't know this going into the story, but there's an entire series to read after this, which, thanks to my low impulse control around books, I now own. Gone was written by Michael Grant in 2008. It takes place in a small stretch of land in California where, one day, everyone over the age of 14 just vanished in an instant. Gone, as if plucked out of existence by God. If that wasn't enough, some of the kids have been developing powers, like the main character Sam, who can shoot beams of intense green light out of his hands. So intense that he's able to burn people to ash if they get caught in his way. Sealing them in, however, is an impenetrable dome surrounding the kids, 20 miles in diameter. The question then shifts from what happened to everyone who vanished to what's happening to us. The real fun comes when the upper-class kids from the academy up in the hills drive into town to help settle tensions, but really end up taking over. Forces clash in a power struggle between Sam and the leader of the academy, a kid named Kane, who's planning much more than he's letting on. Starting out, I didn't like the writing style at all. I found it to be really scant, giving only the smallest amount of detail to get by and no more. I don't need there to be so much detail that I can tell what the thread count is on someone's t-shirt, but at least paint the world in a little. I spent the first few chapters worried that I was going to skim over that one important line in a paragraph because of how few world-building details were being handed out. Grant instead chose to showcase his characters, which is still important, but it felt like he forgot to include the world around his characters. The problem does somewhat persist throughout the entire book, but you do get used to it eventually, and the tense drama in the story keeps you distracted enough. Speaking of characters, Gone has a wide variety of different characters from different backgrounds, with different powers and different problems. Sam is a reluctant hero, someone who does good because someone has to. As one of the oldest kids left in this little section of the world, everyone else naturally looks up to him for answers and guidance. He doesn't really want to be so responsible, but when a fire breaks out in a small apartment building, he rushes in to save a kid still stuck inside, and gets the hero treatment because of it. He gathers a small band of others to discover what's going on and what can be done to save everyone from this new universe that they all find themselves trapped in. That mission only gets more complicated when the Academy kids drive in to establish order and a new government, and some of those kids have powers as well. Kane makes for a great antagonist, not just because he also has powers, but because he is a born manipulator. When he and his crew roll in, they do seem to set things up properly, assigning roles like police chief, fire chief, head of the nursery to watch over the infants, etc. He does manage to return some degree of order to the town, but under a dictatorial watch, seen closely by his right-hand man, Drake. Drake is a psychopath through and through. He enjoys causing pain in others and becomes seriously deformed by the end of the book because of it. Contrast to that is Sam's crew of Astrid, Adelio, Quinn, and to a lesser extent, Little Pete. Astrid is the school genius and is the girl Sam has a crush on. She's one of the smartest kids left in town and often comes up with the solutions to Sam's problems. Always with her is her younger brother, Little Pete, a severely autistic 4-year-old who barely ever looks up from his video games. Normally a character like that would just be a distraction in an otherwise colorful cast of characters, but Grant actually finds a way to bring him to life properly and makes him important to the plot. Quinn is just the quiet surfer dude who wants everything to go back to the way it was and wants to be left alone. But Adelio, he's the one who caught my attention. He's the one who was trying to find a way out of the dome before even Sam was. And even though he doesn't have any powers, he's easily one of the bravest characters out of the entire story. I'm really interested to see what happens to him throughout the rest of the series. If I had to give a quick description of Gone, I'd say it's like X-Men meets Lord of the Flies. You have both the themes of kids being in charge and struggling against each other for order, as well as these new mutants fighting for control over not just of their powers, but for the new perceptions of them by those who don't have powers, a theme which blends seamlessly into the sequel. I loved Lord of the Flies when I was younger, so reading about the same thing with a new twist on it, and told in a believable enough way, supernatural moments notwithstanding, this makes for a very fun story. Overall, I'd say that Gone is pretty good. Not a bad time to be had for sure. The characters were fun, the action and drama between the characters were palpable, and I just had to jump into the sequel, Hunger, to see what would happen next. Like I said, the writing style could use some work in my opinion, but it does become easier to get through. So, did you read the book? What did you think? If not, do you want to read it now? Whatever your thoughts, comment below and stay tuned for more.